All right, guys. So this is the forecast for the new moon on January 5th, which is in Sagittarius. It's not in Capricorn. And it's a new moon. It's also a partial solar eclipse. So which is why I have my makeshift science program up right now. I'm going to show you what an eclipse is, because a lot of times people don't know what an eclipse means. It just, how it looks in the sky. So I'm gonna walk you through that. Before we get started, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to click subscribe and the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I put new videos out. And also join the email list. Go to my website, join the email list, join the Facebook group, and there's also an option to get a free chart emailed to you. So all that is on my website, siderealastrologist.com. But make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell. Okay, so what is an eclipse? Okay, so eclipse. First of all, this is so we know this is the Earth. This is like my little globe. This is the sun, and this is the moon. It's actually I don't even know what crystal this is. A friend gave me, and this is one of those little mini oranges or whatever. Okay, so first, it's interesting to know that, and it's not a coincidence, is the sun is 400 times larger than the moon. So this is not to scale, but that's just telling you. But also, the sun is 400 times the distance away from Earth as the moon is. So the moon is here, 400 times further away is the sun, which is why you can get an eclipse, because the moon, from the perspective of Earth, the moon and the sun look the same size because of the distance, and that's not a coincidence. And there's a lot of conspiracy behind that, and there's actually a book called Who Built the Moon, and there's a lot of information, but that's not what I want to open up right now. I just want to share that with you, that's why an eclipse can show. The moon can look the same size as the sun when the sun is 400 times bigger. So how come every new moon we don't have a solar eclipse? It's because that's what we consider the nodes. The moon travels 5 degrees below or above the ecliptic, so it doesn't travel on the same plane as the sun. Because if it did, that means every new moon, this is a new moon, this is when the moon and the sun align. So that means every new moon would be an eclipse. But since it travels 5 degrees above or below, that's why we don't have eclipses every new moon, or lunar eclipses every full moon. This is a full moon. So we're going to do that in the next video. I'm going to show you what full moon is. It's opposite. Sun shining onto the moon, moon shining onto Earth. But here is a new moon, which is why you don't see the moon, because the moon is traveling with the sun. So you don't see the moon at night during a new moon. Okay, so now since the moon travels 5 degrees above or below, I think it's every 18 months, the node is the path of where the moon travels. So the moon is like this, or whatever direction, 5 degrees below, above, and then the sun, is doing that thing. And only at the point where the node intersects. This is a makeshift science project that I put together today. So hang on a second, because I had to tape this on an old camera tripod. Might not work. Okay, and it's tilting over again. This is funny. All right, let's try this one more time. See, I used Scotch tape on this thing, and I moved it over. Okay, there we go. All right. So when the moon and the node hit the same path as the Earth, as the sun, then they meet. And that's about every 18 or so months, there's a meeting. And that meeting is what blocks out the moon, blocks out the sun. So that's the solar eclipse. And I think this one we might not be able to see because it happens at like 8:41 p.m. So I think you can see it in, I think they say China or something like that, or Los Angeles partial. But anyway, you can look all that up and figure it out. But that's how it works. So other new moons, the moon is like in this position or that position or something like that. So that way, you don't have an eclipse. But when you have an eclipse, it's when the nodes the traveling path of the moon and the traveling path of the sun, they meet. Okay, so that's a significant meeting point. All right, so that's the science lesson for today. So I'm going to take this crazy little thing out, and we're going to continue to talk, and then we're going to do a screen share and go over all the energy. All right, so I'll put this to the side. And I got my crystals falling all over the place. Okay, so this new moon, we labeled this one Inner Shaman Power. Now I want to explain the eclipse. What is an eclipse also, like energetically? And here's an image I saved for you that I'll show you. You see that? That's the Earth, and that's solar wind. See that? So that's the energy coming from the sun, hitting the Earth, interacting with the magnetic field of Earth, and usually visually you can see that sometimes with the northern lights, only because of where they are. But what that is, it's energy from the sun is planets are interacting with the sun and creating energy, and that energy through solar wind is hitting the planet, and that's where you get planetary influences. What I call this is when you're dealing with the sun, it's solar charged planetary influences, meaning that so the planet has an influence, but on its own it's sort of weak. But when it interacts with the sun radiates that energy to the Earth in waves, which is what we have, solar energy. So when you have an eclipse, it's blocking out solar charged planetary influences, right? So whatever the energy of the sun is coming in, with this planetary influence, it's blocking that out. The moon blocks that out. So what does that mean? My experience is that you're left on your own for just a little bit. So basically, as you know, like through life, you're kind of dealing with like strings, and you're kind of managed by, you're working with the planetary influences, the sun, everything is humming along, and you're kind of moving along with the energy of the planets. Now that stuff gets cut off, and who are you left with? You're left with yourself. You're left with you. All right. So that's why I label this one the inner shaman. So who are you? Who are you? What are you doing? And then when we go over the screen share, we're going to go over the energy of the planets, and then what's being cut off. And these are the questions that you'll be asking yourself. Then I want to read a part of a book where the eclipses are also, there's something called the Saturn cycles, and this new moon is in the Saturn cycles too. And I'm going to read off something from this book here, Predictive Astrology, in the Saturn cycles too. It says, this eclipse is concerned with unusual groups and individuals' involvement with those groups. This could be the time when the individual notices or suddenly desires to find a particular group whose concerns would be with healing, the arts, or the love of humanity. The individual will feel that through involvement with such a group, he or she will gain a great deal. So as we go through this chart in the screen share, we're going to go over what all this means. But it's already, I can see it in the chart, because a lot of energy is in Pisces and Aquarius, which is humanitarian, which is global consciousness. Pisces is global. It's the sign of our times. That's the age that we're in. So we're going to kind of go over this and point it out to you so you can have a better understanding. Okay, let me just see if I have any notes that I want to share on this part. No. Okay, I think we're good here. So we're going to go over to the screen share now, and we're going to go over this new moon partial solar eclipse. All right, guys. Okay, so here we have the screen share up, and we're going to walk through the chart. New moon, January 5th. Okay, you can see here the new moon is going to be in Sagittarius. And what's interesting here, I have my notes, because like I said, I write so many notes, I can't keep track sometimes, so we got to go over these things. Alright, so so many things that I just noticed. First of all, I mean, there's like, yeah, you can see here already. There's a grand trine between the North Node in Cancer. Trace it down, Venus in Libra, which is a great position for Venus, and we're going to go over that, and then Mars in Pisces, and Mars is conjunct Chiron. So we're going to walk through this whole chart. Next thing I want to point out, which is pretty cool, interesting, it's what's called a stellium. It's either 4 or 5 or more planets in one sign or one house. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets, and then the South Node. So 5 planets and a point in one sign. And this is all in Sagittarius. So this is why I labeled this video the Shaman Power, or the inner shaman within, the Shaman Power within, because we're going to go over each one of these and what does it mean. Alright, so here we have the moon, and here we have the sun. So it's new moon, 17 degrees, 17 degrees. But here we have Pluto. Pluto is the shaman. In Sagittarius, it's the wise shaman. Alright. Then you have Saturn. Alright, so let me just check my notes, what I wrote here. Okay. Then you have Saturn, who we all know is the keeper of time. It's the structure of time, the limitations. Everything on Earth that we're limited by is governed by the laws of Saturn. Time, limitations, and structure. And responsibility. That's a big one. Responsibility is what? We're running against time, so we have to be responsible for time. It's a really important look on life. But what's really interesting, let me just see what I have here for Mercury. Okay, yes. Alright, this is really important what I have written down here. So we have all of these in Sagittarius, which is wise. But then you have Mercury here, which we know Mercury is the messenger of the gods, because the gods are considered the planets, because Mercury is the first planet from the sun. So any information that goes between the planets filters out through Mercury first, right? So Mercury is the filter. We always discuss that when like the whole Mercury retrograde thing is going on. But the Mercury is conjunct this galactic center, which if you watch all my past videos, for me, based on my observation of people's charts, whatever is in the galactic center is the power of the chart. It's not really the sun. The sun just places the time and tells you like the underlying radiant energy of the person. But this is amazing power. You have Mercury here, all right? And then what's another interesting point, and I think it's it's a trine, yeah. So here, Mercury trine Uranus, and then Mercury conjunct GC, galactic center. Okay, Mercury and Uranus have a connection because, and it usually rules higher technology, technology used for liberation, for awakening, for the betterment, right? So it's high tech. This is like high tech. And if you see here, you have Uranus in Pisces. We always talk about Pisces is the age of our time. And you can see the symbol of Pisces. It's two souls, right? Half circles are souls. So souls are individual, the individual of Great Spirit. But they're still souls. They operate under spiritual law. But see that line in the middle? That line in the middle represents matter. So on Earth, two souls are bound by matter. So the positive and the negative charge are bound together by matter. Which is why the age of our time, we have polar opposites that are super strong. Again, my Saratoga water. So the age of our time has to do with polarities, which is why you have highly spiritual individuals, and then you have, supercharged consumerism, materialism, and all that stuff. It's the age of our time. Uranus is there. Okay, Scorpio is in Sagittarius, but it's conjunct the galactic center. So that has a lot of power. And what this means is it's power behind the message. And Mercury and Uranus is always, since it's high tech, it's usually involving social media or or like, you know, high broadcasting. So whatever the energy that we're going over, most likely will be, again, broadcasted or shot out on social media in a way. Right? So we're going to go over the chart. We're going to figure out what this energy is, and we're going to look out for it, of what's going to be coming up. And I already read that verse of the Solar Cycle 2, which is more about humanitarian. So we're going to look at what that is too. Alright, so first let me just establish we have the stellium here, which is in Sagittarius, which is wise. Right? This is all wisdom. Right? And all these, they look like they're, yeah, there's a lot of conjunctions. Saturn conjunct Pluto, Saturn conjunct Sun, Moon, and then you have the South Node here. Okay, so what I wrote here is, and South Node is the past, right? So you've done this before, and that's really important to know. You've done this before, because when you're going to be dealing with this lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse during the lunar new moon, you're going to be left with yourself, the energy of yourself. And believe it or not, that's either very empowering or it could be very scary. And I'm already seeing stuff on social media of people feeling alone and scared, or kind of like they don't understand what's going on. And it's not even, it's only the 29th when I'm recording this. So yeah, you're going to be left alone just for a short period of time, but that is going to feel like an eternity. You're going to be left to your own influences instead of the planetary influences. Alright, so what I wrote down for this is, for the South Node, remember, is what you've left behind, what you've done already, what you've mastered in the past. So what I wrote is, you've done this before. Remember, okay? Work with the complex structures of the limits of time reality. And why do I say the limits of time reality? Because you have Saturn here. So, when you see Saturn, that's what you're looking at. If you're on Earth and you're looking at where Saturn is, that is what's managing the entire game right now, where you are right here. So remember, you've done this before. You've done this before, no matter how hard it can feel, how weird it can feel, or how great it can feel. You know, it can go either way, right? It's always go either way. You've done this before, and remember to work within the complex of the structure of time and the limitations that represents. Really important to know. Because I know a lot of people who think they can operate outside of the structure of time. And no, just that's it. No, you can't. You can't. Sorry, sorry. No. There's ways to, through certain practice, yoga, tantra, that you can have temporary feeling of managing or seizing the control of time. But it's not a constant. Alright, so that's the one thing. So now let's walk over, like I always do with my charts, and it's always a story, and this is, the beginning of 2019, and I think we're going to have 5 eclipses, solar and lunar, throughout this whole 2019 cycle. And I'm leading a bunch of workshops that are just about what's ahead in 2019. So we're just going to focus on what's ahead 2019, and here's the first step. Right here I want to focus, because this is part of a grand trine with Venus. Right here, let's just focus here for a minute. Mars is still conjunct Chiron. Mars, Chiron conjunction. Alright. That means that the spiritual, masculine spiritual warrior, because you see here Neptune is in Aquarius. There's no conjunction, but it's still like sort of in the same area. So there's still this spiritual, masculine spiritual warrior that's still dealing with wounds. And yeah, so that's what happened. That's what we got. We're dealing with wounds. So it's still addressing wounds of our time, because it's in Pisces, right? So the masculine is still addressing the wounds of our time. So what are those masculine wounds? I mean, it's so many different things. It could be the masculine being demasculated, right? Or it could be the masculine over masculine. So all those issues are coming up, or will be coming up. And I myself am experiencing things like that, balancing my inner masculine and my inner feminine. Because if one of them are off, you're going to be hit with the opposite to bring that up in you. So if my feminine energy is off, I will get hit with a feminine counterpart on some level to bring up my wounded masculine energy. And that's where the work is. So the frustration could come from the feminine, because remember, there's a saying that sometimes someone who you consider your worst enemy is actually your greatest teacher in the spirit realm. So right here you have this trine, and Venus is involved, and Venus is in Libra. And Venus has just finished her descent of Inanna, which was, I forgot the dates, but we went over that in one of my videos. When she was retrograde, she went through a lot of trials. And I've witnessed a lot of feminine energy, women, or feminine energy in general, going through, what the fuck moments in life. So now I feel that Venus is sitting in a good space of balance, because she's in Libra. And Libra represents the Hall of Two Truths, which is Ma'at, weighing of the feather, and that's an Egyptian death ritual. But we can just look at the symbol of Venus, of Libra. What this is considered is the sun, the son of God, which is the sun, is in between the two horizons. That's why it seems like it's setting, because this is right before sunset. So it's in between the living world and the underworld. So Venus is there 16 degrees. So I think Venus is giving support on whatever level is needed to the masculine, so that the masculine to do its healing work. So whatever the Venus is the goddess of love and war. So she can it's the greatest description of that is the movie Wonder Woman. She can be a fierce warrior, she can fight, or she can be a loving person. So that's what Venus is doing right now for Mars. So that's a lot of acceptance, depending on where the masculine is, or how broken the inner feminine is within you as a masculine person. There's stuff that can happen in there. So that's still being worked on. All right. So let's move on before, and then you have a sextile. Right? This is really what I like to see. This is like a beautiful star story. So you have the cosmic king with the goddess, right? Then you have Mars sextiling Alcyon. Alcyon is the center star of the Pleiades. Now, what I wrote down for this is a more higher consciousness support for Mars. And from my understanding of the Pleiades is it's not masculine or feminine. It's actually neutral. It's just higher consciousness. So higher consciousness is giving support to Mars masculine energy during the healing. So that's what I see. Now, right here, you have Uranus and Pisces. And this is all sort of in the same part of the sky. Now, what I wrote down here is, because Uranus is about change. It's time to change. And let me just see. Uranus is change. And that's just what it does. It awakens things to change and liberates. So this whole area right here, what I'm seeing is time to make changes. Time to make changes or to make moves as the healed masculine spiritual warrior. So this is the energy right here. Spirituality, wounded healer, masculine, changes. So time to make changes, or the time to make changes or make the moves as a healed masculine spiritual warrior. Alright, that's the energy right here. And it's setting. Right? So that's what we're doing right here. Now, one thing more I want to point out is you have Jupiter, which is the king of the planets, the protector. Because Jupiter is the biggest planet. Let me see. Right above me, that's Jupiter. The biggest planet of the solar system. And wherever you see Jupiter, you know to see abundance or luck or strength, lots of strength. It's in Scorpio. So what I wrote down here, and what did I write here? There's a square to Neptune in Aquarius. So what I wrote down here is, and squares could be, they say squares could be lessons met by challenge or frustration. So what I'm seeing here, the square between Neptune and Jupiter and Scorpio, is I'm feeling like this could be possible intuition or gut instincts. So feeling the gut instinct, intuition, and sometimes it could not be, love and light and peace. It could be like, because Scorpio is the one that doesn't trust. Scorpio is the one that investigates. I don't want to say trust like, liars, or things, and that's all like negative stuff. But just trust that the situation is not correct for them, because if someone else is doing something that's not correct, it can be received as misleading or deception or whatever. But that's that other person dealing with whatever they got to deal with. So it's important to know that when you have a gut instinct that something's not right, it's not right for you. It's really important to remember that. So if it's not right for you, go with your gut, because it's connected to Neptune, and Neptune is intuition. And Scorpio is the investigator. Scorpio is the retriever of information, and it will go as deep as it needs to go to receive that information. It's also important for you to know that the information is for you to make a decision for yourself. That's the whole theme of this moon, is making a decision for yourself. Dealing with yourself. And also being part of a global community on whatever level that is. So how do you be yourself, yet be connected to community while everyone is doing their own thing, and some of them are awakened on some levels and some of them are not, or some of them have different paths and some that are different from yours, and they need to do certain things on their path that they can't explain. They're just being called also. So these are all the things that are kind of just playing out. So yeah, so that's where we're at. This is a long video. I just looked at the time count. It's like 20 minutes on that part. So yeah, it's super long. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Just one thing to know: this is gonna be tough a little bit. That's why I'm doing workshops. But also I offer the moon readings, where we overlay the moon cycle above your chart, and we can see how this is really directly affecting you. And those are only $20. So you go to my website, Sidereal Astrologist, and you go to the booking area, and you're going to see moon reading. It's $20. I think it's 10 minutes. We spend 10 minutes, and we just kind of blast through both charts, and we just figure it out for you. All right. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. Subscribe, click the notification bell. You see all my videos when they come out. And Happy New Year, and good luck on the 5th. I'll see you soon.